1943. These children had committed no crime, yet America treated them like enemies. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, fear spread across the United States faster than the truth. And soon, that fear turned into suspicion. Not against soldiers, not against spies, but against ordinary Japanese American families. Mothers, fathers, children born in America. Entire families suddenly found themselves being watched, questioned, and eventually forced from their homes. In 1942, the U.S. government signed Executive Order 9066, and with a single decision, more than 120,000 Japanese Americans were removed from their lives. Most of them had never even been accused of a crime. They were told to pack only what they could carry. Some had just days to leave behind everything they owned. Homes, businesses, pets, family memories. Many sold their possessions for almost nothing because they had no time left. Others locked their front doors believing they would return in a few weeks. But they never came back to the same lives again. Families were loaded onto buses and trains under military guard. People stared at them through windows as if they were dangerous. As if suddenly, overnight, their faces had made them enemies. Children didn't understand what was happening. Some thought they were going on a trip. Others cried because they had to leave their schools and friends behind. And then they arrived at the camps. Remote places surrounded by fences, barbed wire, and armed guards. Places built in deserts, swamps, and isolated land far from American cities. The government called them relocation centers. But for many families, they felt like prisons. The barracks were small and poorly built. Thin walls, dust everywhere, extreme heat during the summer, freezing cold during the winter. Entire families often lived together in a single cramped room. No privacy, no comfort, and yet, people still tried to survive with dignity. Parents attempted to create normal lives for their children. Schools were built inside the camps. Baseball games were organized. People planted small gardens beside the barracks. Even in captivity, they tried to hold on to humanity. But behind every smile in those old photographs, there was pain. Imagine being born in America, speaking English, pledging allegiance to the same flag as everyone else, and still being treated as a threat simply because of your ancestry. Many young Japanese American men later volunteered to fight for the United States during World War II. While their own families remained imprisoned behind barbed wire, they risked their lives for the same country that had rejected them. Some of those soldiers became part of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, one of the most decorated military units in American history. Think about that for a moment. Young men fighting and dying for freedom overseas, while their mothers and fathers were still locked away at home. Years passed before the camps finally closed. But when families returned, many discovered that everything was gone. Their farms had been stolen, businesses destroyed, homes vandalized or sold. Some had nowhere left to go. And perhaps the deepest wound of all was the silence that followed. For decades, many survivors rarely spoke about what happened, not because they forgot, but because the memories were too painful. Children who grew up in those camps carried that trauma for the rest of their lives. Some remembered the dust storms. Others remembered the guards in towers watching them day and night. And many remembered the feeling of shame. A shame forced upon innocent people by fear and prejudice. Today, these images remain as proof of one of America's darkest chapters. A reminder that fear can make nations betray their own values. A reminder that ordinary people can lose everything when society stops seeing them as human beings. And maybe the most terrifying part is this. It didn't happen hundreds of years ago. It happened in modern America. Real families, real children, real lives destroyed. History is not only about wars and victories. Sometimes history is about the innocent people trapped in between. And when we look into the eyes of these children in the footage, we are not just looking at the past. We are looking at a warning, because every generation believes something like this could never happen again, until it does. So the next time you see an old black and white photo like this, Remember that behind every image was a human story. Family, a child, a life forever changed. And maybe the hardest truth of all is that many of these people loved America until the very end, even after America stopped loving them back. If the story moved you, subscribe for more forgotten historical footage and the untold human stories hidden behind history.